Hey, Sean Chandler here with Sean Chandler Talks About Live. And hopefully I'm actually live and people are seeing this. I don't have a test window going at the moment. Hopefully that will be up shortly, and my wife will be helping me run the chat board today. Can you introduce yourself? She says no to that. She just gave me a nod. I will have to turn the camera towards her in the future if I can't get words. So I hit 700 subscribers today, so I thought I would go all fancy and wear my pink tie to be on camera today. So if you're wondering why I'm wearing a pink tie, it's actually nothing related to what I just said. My daughter just told me I had to put this tie on, and so I did, and then she told me I could not take it off. So here I am with a pink tie. So anyway, with that said, we got several different things I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to do a quick rundown of the box office because there's some interesting stuff in there this weekend. Just a little bit. I'll cover that pretty quickly. Then I'm going to talk about January movies and just kind of give some quick thoughts on all of that. A bunch of stuff came out, a lot of holdovers from December that were like Oscar-type movies, got their wide release. And at the moment, I think this is the movie month where I've seen the most movies in the theater in my entire 35 years of being alive. So got many things to talk about in that regard. And then my big main topic for today, I want to talk about just something specific, is why do we get these bad movies? How to fix some of them? Just want to talk about that in particular because coming off January, where there's just been it's January. So you get some crappy movies. Just a couple days ago, I saw Resident Evil. It's so shockingly bad that just kind of wanted to talk. That was kind of the thing that was on my mind. Like, how does stuff like this fail so miserably at the purpose of the type of movie you're making? So I put that one up there. With that said, with all this, I don't want to just talk about movies. I want to talk about movies with you. So you can please join into the chat board. Give me your thoughts. Give me your feedback. I would love to have some back and forth with you. If you have any questions, of course, I can join you in that regard as well. Also, real quick, one piece of housekeeping. I have a Twitter and a Facebook account, and I would like for this channel. I'm on there for just personal reasons too. But as for Sean Chandler, those aren't words at all. As for Sean Chandler Talks About, I have a specific Twitter and Facebook account for those. I'm trying to do more with them. So if you can like those, follow those in the description below, it has the links to them. I'd appreciate it if you would follow this. I do some like Twitter polls and type stuff, do a little bit of interacting. I'm getting much better at Twitter. I used to be pretty bad at Twitter, and I'm actually getting kind of good at it, though it's still a little bit over my head as an old person like I am. And then also on Facebook, I'm actually better at Facebook, but I don't have as much interaction on there. So anyway, that's a little bit of housekeeping. With all that said, I want to move in and start talking about this weekend at the box office. We have our estimates in for this weekend, and things feel pretty close to where the order I expected them to fall. So number one at the box office is Split with $26 million. And that's really impressive because that's only like a 40% drop off. So most big kind of blockbusters like the Marvel movies, they open gigantic and then they'll have like a 55%. If it's not as well received, maybe 60% drop off. If it's really well received, a 50% drop off, or it doesn't open as big. Or put like the DC movies like Batman v Superman opened huge, and then people didn't respond well to it. So it had like a 70% drop off. And so when you start talking about a drop off under 50% and then even more so under 40%, that is what the studios absolutely love. So the idea that Split only dropped 38%, I think is what it's at, the actual numbers at. That's really, really impressive. And so, I mean, I think that's great news. I love that Shyamalan's having kind of a little resurgence. The movie's good. It's not great, but it's definitely one that if you're a fan of his, you want to go see. So I'd highly encourage you to do that. So that's number one at the box office. Number two at the box office is A Dog's Purpose, which got made $18 million. Kind of surprising to me because like I hadn't even heard all this much about the movie. I hadn't seen any trailers. Or I'd seen one trailer for it. I think it's some movie I went to go see. And then all the scandal over the last couple of weeks with the footage of the dog getting thrown into the water, which people calling abuse, certainly doesn't look good at all. So the vibe going around the movie is not on the best. And so it still made $18 million though, which surprised me because I'm even thinking to myself, why would I want to go see a movie about a dog dying 5 times? Like if there was a subject matter that I'm going to make a video and like have to do hashtag triggered or something like that, it would be dogs dying. Like I had to put down one of my dogs a year ago it is like the most traumatizing thing I've ever done. I mean, just shocking levels of like, this is horrifying. So a movie about dogs dying sounds awful. Awful, awful, awful. So I've been even like debating, even for this channel, trying to like force myself to see movies I wouldn't otherwise go and see for the sake of the channel, and thinking, I don't want to be hashtag triggered. And so I don't know if I'm going to go see that one, but a bunch of people did go see it, and they all claimed that they cried over and over and over again. I wouldn't do that. I would just curl up in a ball under my seat in the dark. Number 3 at the box office is Hidden Figures with $14 million. That's pretty impressive. That movie's just kind of ticking along. And I think its opening weekend only made like $22 million, which is very good for that movie, but not like this gigantic number. And in its third weekend, it's still made $14 million, which is crazy holdover. That's talking about, if you have under 50, that's good. Under 40, that's good. Hidden Figures in its third week of release has only dropped like 40% from its first week in 2 weeks there. So that's crazy impressive. And then when we start to get a little funky, number 4, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter makes $14 million, which doesn't surprise me it made so little. This movie's going to bomb here in the U.S., and then it's going to make bukus of money somewhere in the world where apparently they love crappy action movies. I don't know why, but I'm glad that made so little here. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure it's going to make tons elsewhere. La La Land at number 5, $12 million. Triple Return of Xander Cage at number 6 with only $8 million, and that's looking pretty bad. It's made $33 million in 2 weekends of release here in the U.S. Not good. Number 7, Sing, holding out, making just tons of money. It's $6 million this weekend, but $257 million just in the U.S. Number 8, Rogue One with $5 million for $520 worldwide. Number 9, actually holding out pretty well, is Monster Trucks. It's only made $28 million in the U.S. It made $4 million this weekend. None of those are great numbers, but given that it really did not do well its opening weekend, it's kind of been holding in there a little bit as kind of the family adventure film to take your kids to. I've almost taken my kids to it because I make bad life choices. But number 10, the movie I saw last night, Gold. Matthew McConaughey seeking yet another Oscar desperately, and it did not do so well with only $3.4 million. He's great in the movie. The movie's not so great, though. It's okay. I put up my review for it last night. So anyway, I do that rundown. I actually like some of the numbers, or I like running down the numbers on stuff like this. I find it fascinating. I don't know if you do. Was there anything for you guys that you found interesting? Do we have anything in the chat board, any discussion as of yet? Oh, she's just now pulling it up. So if you have any thoughts, comments on it, what strikes you the most interesting about the box office? For me, I look at it and I go, that's kind of about what I would expect. It's some family movies doing pretty well. With like Hidden Figures, an Oscar movie, or now an Oscar movie, holding out really well. It's a crowd pleaser type movie. And so when you got crowd pleaser about relevant subject matter plus Oscar buzz surrounding it, you got a surefire hit on your hands, and that's what you're seeing. It's a very good movie. Like if I were to recommend, of all the movies out there right now that you can go see this weekend, see Split or Hidden Figures. If you want creepy, Split. If you want feel good, crowd pleaser, go see Hidden Figures. With either one, they're solid entertainment, or at least something certainly to talk about. If you hate Split, you still will have something to say about your thoughts about it. And likewise with Hidden Figures, you won't hate Hidden Figures. You'll like Hidden Figures. I don't know. Yeah, unless you're a Klan member or 8 years old, you're going to like Hidden Figures. It's a really, really good movie. With all that said, moving on to the next subject I wanted to talk about, and that is January movies, the movies that came out this January or their wide release, kind of what's going on. To give a quick rundown of some of this stuff, and Januaries are known for having really bad movies released, and this January certainly had its fair share of bad movies released, and almost all of the bad ones released this January were like action movies or adventure thriller type stuff. So given the rundown, here's the 12 movies I saw in the theater this month. Hacksaw Ridge, obviously a movie from last year. Patriots Day, Hidden Figures, La La Land, another one from last year. Split, Moana, Sleepless, Gold, Triple X, Return of Xander Cage, Trolls, Resident Evil, The Final Chapter, and Underworld, Blood Wars. And of the bottom 4, when it came to how I ranked those movies, 3 of the 4 bottom ones were action movies. So Underworld, Resident Evil, and Return of Xander Cage, three of the worst movies that I saw this January. Sleepless, I actually liked deep fair enough, but review-wise, it was like the worst reviewed movie of January was Sleepless. And it just seems January, they just dump these crappy action movies that are just cobbled together. And like in the case of something like Sleepless, it feels like one of those Nicolas Cage movies that they throw out in Redbox every 2 weeks. Like that's what the movie kind of feels like. It's better than those, but not by a lot. And so it's just interesting. Of the movies that were out that I didn't get to go see, Monster Trucks, I actually, one of these days after work, I'll probably go see it this week. The Bye-Bye Man, heard great things about that one from Cody Leach. He hates it. The Founder, another one I wish I would have gone to go see. A Dog's Purpose, The Resurrection of Gavin Stone, a Christian comedy, and Silence, which I think is really a holdover from last year, but got its wide release this month, which I've heard very interesting reviews for Silence, because you have people that, oh, it's Martin Scorsese, it's really dark, it's hard to get through. And then you have people that hate it because it's so rough and because of the given subject matter. And so, yeah, with that, if I kind of look at these, as this is probably the first January, or this is the first January that I've just embraced going to the movies and seeing everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I got to say, given the reputation for January movies, besides Resident Evil and Underworld, it wasn't so bad. I mean, every month has crappy action movies or crappy horror movies or a comedy that's not funny. Every month has those. And this January, we had some of that. But, for every one of those, you had a Patriots Day. You had Hidden Figures. So it seemed pretty balanced to me. Now, we didn't have any like big blockbuster type movies. Now, there's nothing like that. Triple X tried to be that. It doesn't do it well at all, but it tried to be that. So it's an interesting month at the movies, not nearly as bad as you would think. And here's what the interesting thing about it is how many of these movies, and I guess this is every January, how many of these movies that came out in January actually came out in December? Like even Gold, the movie I saw last night, technically came out last month. I don't know where it came out last month, but when I was doing research to do my review, it technically came out last month, which kind of threw me off a little bit. As I was like, where did this come out? Like, do I count this as a 2016 movie or 2017 movie? Hidden Figures came out really last year. That's why it's being nominated for Oscars, but really came out this year. Patriots Day had a release in a few places last year, but for the rest of us, we just got it this year. So I don't know. It's trying to figure out where to rate these. I think in a couple of days, I'm going to do a video specifically talking more in depth about my favorites or the best and worst of the month. And some of these, I'm really like Patriots Day. Do I count that as a January movie, even though it's not? Frustrating. Hollywood and their funky release schedules. Like Underworld came out like 2 months ago in other parts of the world. And you could see reviews from some of my other buddies on YouTube reviewed it months ago. I was like, how are you already seeing this? We don't even have a trailer for this movie yet. And they're like, oh, yeah, it came out here last week. Okay, studios, that's weird. Why don't you just release it like normal? With all that said, what do we have in the chat board? Any questions, comments?
Alter the Stream said A Dog's Purpose did better than the studio expected. Could that be that people were drawn to the theater because of the controversy?
Oh, I would imagine what happened. It drew people's attention, certainly, because a ton of people, I don't know of anyone that was talking about it, buzzing about it, anything. It wasn't really on anyone's radar in the realm of talking about movies that I was aware of. Not in person, not on Facebook, not on YouTube. None of the channels, anything I follow was talking about A Dog's Purpose at all. I think I'd heard like one comment about the trailer or something like that. Like one comment. That video gets released by TMZ, and suddenly I'm seeing all kinds of people throwing it up on Facebook page, like people that don't talk about movies. Like one of my wife's friends, she goes to the movies with her, a couple times a month. She's posting that video on her Facebook page talking about it. Like, I'm not comfortable with this, and she doesn't post about movies. But suddenly now she is promoting, in one sense, this movie while trashing it at the same sense. But that got the word out about this movie, and so if that has the immediate effect of just obviously putting the negative story out there, but it gets people talking about it. And so then it starts to trend a little bit better. It becomes something people are searching more. And the way search engines work, the way Facebook's algorithm works, the way all kinds of things work, that means suddenly it's popping up in a lot more people's feeds because of that. And so just this morning at church, a day or two ago, the pastor at my church, him and his wife went to go see A Dog's Purpose just on date night. And I guess they hadn't heard anything about the controversy before they went to go see it. And so she's like, oh, I hadn't heard about any of that. I'm glad I hadn't heard about that before I went to go see the movie. But there was so much buzz that was something that they ended up going to go see. So I think it almost certainly helped that movie by getting the buzz out there, the word out there. And even like for me, as someone that, you know, obviously is in these spheres, and I have Evernote notes talking about movies I'm planning on going to go see, A Dog's Purpose came way more on my radar because of the controversy. Like before, I've been like, okay, another movie I don't need to even think about too much. There's always tons of movies that come out. And then suddenly it was like, oh, maybe I should go see that because there's something to talk about with it. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I don't want to be #triggered because my dog died last year and it was horrible. It was really the worst. Anything else in the chat board?
Sing is now the highest grossing film to never reach #1.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that I heard about that. So if you didn't hear that, the movie Sing has not hit #1 at the box office, and it's now the highest grossing film of all time to never reach #1 at the box office. Before this, it was My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which they came out with a sequel last year that I don't know who went to go see or who wanted it. But the first My Big Fat Greek Wedding was maybe the ultimate example of a sleeper hit movie. It came out, it was on no one's radar. There had been some trailers out and some people, oh, that was kind of a funny trailer. And then people went to go see it and they liked it. And they went to tell their friends, hey, you made like $5-10 million. I'm just throwing numbers out there. So it just makes a little bit of money. Second week, it makes it going back to, if you have under 50% drop, that's really good. My Big Fat Greek Wedding doesn't drop. It might actually go up a little bit. Third week, it doesn't drop. And it just keeps making more and more money. And it was in the theaters forever. And so, I mean, like for me, a movie called My Big Fat Greek Wedding, it, you know, came out when I was like 22 years, you know, in that age range. I had long hair at the time, very angry guy playing in bands with angry punk bands and stuff like that. So I'm not going to go see a movie called My Big Fat Greek Wedding. People kept talking about it. So I finally went to go see it on like week 11 where it was still in the theaters. And I was like, wow, this movie's really funny. This is a really good romantic comedy. So held that record forever. I mean, years and years and years. And movies just don't do that they never hit #1 and make over $200 million. That's so incredibly rare to happen. And now Sing has taken the cake for passing it. And let me check on my numbers again. So it made $6 million. So it'll probably end up around 280 in the United States. And so significantly passing My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Now, to be fair, if you take out inflation and all that stuff, factor all of that in, My Big Fat Greek Wedding almost certainly sold more tickets. So Sing is going to technically make more money. My Big Fat Greek Wedding still sold more tickets and had a much smaller marketing budget. So I'm going to give all the credit still to My Big Fat Greek Wedding. However, Sing, all credit to it, really impressive. And also it's battling up against Star Wars. So to give some context to it, I think we have a comment over here.
Well, My Big Fat Greek Wedding was $5 million to make, and it grossed $241,438,208 in the U.S. and is the highest grossing romantic comedy in history.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'd like to tell you how nerdy I can get on some of this stuff. Like, I hear numbers like that, and I was like, oh, it kind of got chills a little bit. That's how weird I get with some of these numbers. But just, it's an underdog story that someone made a movie that was true to who they were, their culture, and they made a great movie. And it didn't need big budget spectacle. Like some of the people in it now, they're recognizable, but there's no big names in it, right? Like Nina is her name, and then it's was it Corbin or something like that? Corvin. And so you've seen him in other stuff now. You might have seen him in a couple things before that, but there's no names that kind of bring it to anyone's attention. They just made a good movie, and it made an enormous amount of money. And you just stop and think, budget $5 million makes $241 million. how crazy that is. So, so not to take away from Sing, it beat it. But this is a great opportunity to bring your attention to My Big Fat Greek Wedding. If you haven't seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding, if you like comedies, just if you like good comedies that are about families, go check out that movie. If you haven't seen it yet, it's really good. It is a romantic comedy, but it's one of the good ones. We have a comment over here.
Why does Sing cost $6 million to produce?
Sing did not cost $6 million.
That's what it says.
No, it did not cost $6 million.
Okay.
Sing?
That's what it says.
What are you looking at?
Wikipedia.
No, go up. Sorry about. Yeah, I mean, there's no way Sing would have cost. Oh, hey, Chloe. Probably cost with that studio. I'm going to guess $85 million is my guess on how much Sing cost to produce. But anyway, sorry about that. Do we have any comments from the chat board on stuffs?
What do you think about Oscar nominations?
What do I think about Oscar nominations? Is it the full question?
Just that they came out a week ago, but just curious.
Yeah, so I had a video I put out, I believe Tuesday, talking about it. The problem is I haven't seen a lot of the movies, and I'm working on that. So even the day it came out, I went to go see Hacksaw Ridge. Arrival is one that's back in theaters. I'm trying to find the right night to go see it. I almost went to go see it last night instead of going to go see Gold, but I was like, I need to see some of these, new movies. I haven't actually seen enough of them to be able to give a good comment on them. I'll say this. The nominations for the most part felt really safe. They went for what you were expecting them to nominate. There wasn't a lot of surprises in the good or the bad direction. There wasn't too many things that jumped out. It's like, this was snubbed. Kind of like a few years back when Ben Affleck wasn't nominated for Argo as director, but Argo was nominated for Best Picture. And then during the awards circuit, Ben Affleck wins Best Director from Golden Globes, the Directors Guild, producer. I mean, everybody gives him the award for Best Director, and he wasn't nominated for the Oscar, which is just unbelievably stupid. There's nothing like that this year. There are a few that I kind of looked at it. You can check out Cody Leach did a video on this. It feels a little bit like after Oscars So White controversy, hashtag Oscars So White from a year or two ago, or maybe the last couple years, it feels a bit like they overcorrected and they nominated some stuff that's really good that I'm not convinced I would say is Best Picture. Like Hidden Figures, I just told you to go see it. You should go see it because it's a crowd pleaser. It's a great crowd pleaser, but they made a crowd pleaser, not a Best Picture contender. And what I mean by that is the way the movie's set up, it's set up to make an audience go, yeah, but not necessarily be the best of storytelling. So, for example, there's a plot line in it of someone trying to get into a class, to be able to take a class, to be able to get a certain promotion. And it's one of the three main plot lines in it. And this is very minor of spoilers, but it is a plot point that kind of goes throughout the story. But so this person gets to go to this class, and the way that's set up to where she goes to the class that she's been fighting to get to go throughout the whole movie is she shows up late to class. So she walks in, everyone's already there, they're already kind of teaching. She's like, whoa, I've got a note that says I can be here, which makes for this cool moment where she gets to talk down to the whole room and you want to high five the people next to you. But it doesn't make any sense. Oh, you fought so hard and long to be able to get to go to this meeting or get to go to this class and get the promotion. You did it. And then you showed up late, like really late, so that everyone else is there first. Doesn't sound like you really want to be there. So anyway, that's kind of nitpicking a plot point, but it's a scene that works great as a crowd pleaser to make people just love a moment, have a big payoff moment, but it's not written to be like the best, but just well crafted. And so likewise, like with Hidden Figures, I rated it the same as La La Land. La La Land, I get being nominated much more. I liked Hidden Figures way more than La La Land, but I understand La La Land being nominated as Best Picture way more than I understand Hidden Figures, because La La Land is just so creative, inventive, and just well-structured, and so many things about it. And I had some issues with it that maybe more personal type stuff. But anyway, so that's kind of my thoughts. I don't have too many thoughts on the nominations simply because I haven't seen enough of the movies to be able to do so. Any other thoughts on January movies?
Not yet, but can I correct my fact? You were right. I read
Yes.
it
What? So I said 85 million.
Oh, wait.
Actual answer is what?
I didn't check that. It was talking about my big fat Greek wedding. So the budget was $5 million. They actually spent $6 million, and it was saying that it had been number one. It was held the record for the highest grossing film, never having been number one on the box office charts until Sing. So that's where the thing got confused.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Sounds good. Any other comments on January movies?
Brendan just said his favorite was Hacksaw Ridge. He wished Deadpool was nominated.
Yeah, so I mean, I was rooting for Deadpool to get a nomination because I just kind of, I don't know if it's the appropriate use of the phrase glass ceiling, but genre films don't get credit. And for me, that something like Hidden Figures gets nominated, but not Deadpool, not Captain America Civil War, not a few years back, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. It feels like genre bias that they make a crowd pleaser that's a great crowd pleaser about civil rights, systemic racism, gets nominated for Best Picture. You make a comic book movie that's excellent, that has real drama, great performances, just the amount of hard work that has to go into create a dramatically intense comic book movie with that level of spectacle, special effects, just seems way more impressive to me than making Hidden Figures. Like I said, I loved Hidden Figures. Go see it. But it just seems so much to me like a movie that it's just not swinging for the fences. Like it's not the level of difficulty to it. Just doesn't seem there to understand why it'd be nominated for Best Picture. That's the thing. Like when I look at La La Land, once back to it, that seems like a movie that would be incredibly difficult to write, direct, film. All the pieces to it are pretty high. Like musical, drama, the way it's told, all the nature of it, the long takes, wonderful craftsmanship to make it. Hidden Figures, fairly straightforward structure, type of story, template of story. Anyway, back to comic book movies. But yeah, I mean, that's why that crowd pleaser, because of its subject matter, gets nominated, but not these other ones. That's where I get frustrated and kind of want to see the Oscars, if we're going to open it up to other crowd pleasers, recognize the fact that genre films can be the best of the year and, get some more recognition going in that direction. Anything else before I move on to my next subject? And if you guys want to throw any questions in there, I'm going to talk about bad movies and some thoughts on why we get some bad movies. And then if you have any questions, I can tackle those at the end, or maybe we'll end a little bit early today. So I want to talk about bad movies because so 2016 was kind of known for the summer season having a lot of pretty big disappointments that underwhelmed, and then moving into January, pretty underwhelming. So in the span of time, the two kind of big things of me in regards to evaluating movies over the last window of time was starting doing this channel. And so then thinking a lot about 2016 movies, and then January, this month we're in right now, I just went all in with the much thanks to my wife getting permission to go to the movies way more. I got to experience my first full January. So I've got a lot of bad movies on the mind because all these movies I never would have gone to go see normally, I actually went to go see this January, a little bit last year as well. So I want to talk about some of these. So kind of going down the list of some of the bad movies that are on my mind. Think of Resident Evil, just a wildly incompetent film. Bye, Chloe. My daughter's leaving. She's walking off with. Oh yeah, she's walking off with one of my copies of Leonard Maltin's movie guide. I don't know if she can read quite yet, but I've actually got like 15 copies of this. Sorry, she wanted it back. All right, bye, Chloe. It doesn't have pictures, so I don't know if she'll have a lot of fun reading that one. But that's one of the books that started my love of movies and talking about movies right there. Not that one. That's 2015. So I started liking movies well before 2015. But when I first got one 20 or so years ago. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. But so Resident Evil, just pure garbage film. Suicide Squad, a movie that the director of it just this past week came out to reflect on and give his thoughts on it. Batman v Superman, once again getting this DCEU world of a movie tons of people really excited for and then really disappointed. Sleepless, an action thriller from a few weeks back that I think might be the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score of January. It's at 15%. Even Bye Bye Man was at 20%. Resident Evil's at like 40%. Triple X is 40%. So Sleepless, like the lowest rated of the month. And then Triple X, as I just said, big dumb action movie that's really just more like dumb. So I want to talk real quick about where does this come from? How do we get some of these bad movies? And each one of these, I think, has a different reason it's bad. So before I start talking about it, why do you see so many movies failing and being bad? What's the patterns that you see? What's the thing that Hollywood keeps doing that you think is leading them to make so many bad movies? So to walk through the ones I just gave you, Resident Evil, saw it a couple days ago, and it's unbelievably bad. It's just shockingly bad. Both the script, I mean, it's just, feels, there's a few good ideas in it, but the actual script itself is, it was just this thing they threw together. I mean, there's no thought about the logic for what's going on, scenes coming together. There's no development of characters. There's no even characters really there. It's just like blonde girl that's good, bad guy with sunglasses, bad guy without sunglasses. I mean, it's just like that. There's nothing even defined that you can know about them. And then it's an action movie where the action, you can't see what's going on because it's so cut to pieces. And so it's fascinating to me. How does a movie like this get made? And like the director with Paul W. Anderson, why does he keep making these? And as best I can tell, is it's just like a money-making scheme. That's all it is. That's the only comprehensible thing I can come up with why there's 6 of these. It says it's the final chapter, but the movie leaves itself open for more. They get terrible reviews in the U.S. Nobody goes to see them in the U.S., and then they make an enormous amount of money overseas, and so they keep making them for about the same amount of money, or sometimes less. This one was made for less money than the previous ones, and then they just rake in the dough. There's no. And all they do is go, this is what people overseas kind of want to see. And because it's an English language film, they don't have to worry about some of the depth of kind of what goes into some of these. So that's as best I can tell is why Resident Evil is the way it is, because it's just visual noise. It's just stuff on screen, shooting guns and chases. And that's all you get. There's no depth where that could translate poorly to other cultures or anything like that. It's just generic visual noise, and they know it'll make money, and so they keep cranking these things out. There you go. That's what you got. And there's something really cynical about that and really frustrating. If you're like me, or even some of my other YouTube buddies on here, like, we love movies. We love to make movies. I like to write. I've got like an idea for a script I've been working on in my head for the last several months. I've always got stuff like that in mind. And so when there's a guy that keeps making these movies, there's no possible way you could say, man, this is the story I've been waiting to tell. Man, there's this action sequence I've been planning on. No, there's no possible way that's where this movie came from, like this passion of great ideas that come together. No, it's a money-making scheme. But that's not all of these movies. So that's the first one. That's the one that kind of sparked me wanting to talk about this. Did anyone have any thoughts on that? You made some faces.
Ed McMuffin was talking about jump cuts, scripts, and acting making the bad movies. Oh
yeah, and that is Resident Evil. It's just jump cut and action sequence. There's no way to you could not cut the action any quicker than is in this Resident Evil movie. Like there's a scene in it that's around the middle of the movie where Mia Jovovich is being chased by a gigantic monster in the dark, and it's just getting cut 3-4 times a second. Without it being an actual strobolite, there's no way to cut it faster without it. It's just like still images, cutting the next still image so fast and ruining the action there. Just ruining it. No script, no thought to it, just cutting between stuff. Suicide Squad, another one. The director came out and kind of gave his thoughts on it. And this one to me feels very much like a studio getting ahead of itself and wanting to interfere. So you hear the stories about it, that they set a release date. They wanted to get 2 out in a year. They wanted to start catching up with Marvel. So they set that release date. They bring in a director that seems on paper like one of the perfect directors to do it, with David Ayer. They get a cast that you look at it on paper and you go, that's a great cast right there. And the problem is you have a movie that, according to all the rumors, David Ayer had 6 weeks to write it. And if you've seen the movie, that's exactly what the movie feels like. Then you watch the movie, and it feels like too many people are changing the tone and direction of it. And the rumor surrounding it is that David Ayer made a cut. the studio made a cut, and then a trailer house made a cut, and then they took all three. In the trailer house, basically people responded well to the trailer, so they had the trailer house guys do a cut of the movie, and they put in more pop music and classic rock and the Bohemian Rhapsody and the Blitzkrieg, do all that fun stuff, just cram it all in there. I was about to say Blitzkrieg bought by the Ramones, but that's not in one of the trailers. I was thinking of a totally different song, and it's not coming to mind at the moment. That's at the end of Wayne's World, the first one that's coming to theaters in about a week, back to theaters for its 25th anniversary. Can't come up with the name. It Ballroom Blitz. That's the one I was looking for. But they just cut that into it, and then they took those 3 cuts of the movie, crammed them into it, and that's the movie you get. And if you've seen Suicide Squad, that's exactly what the movie looks like. And it feels like an underdeveloped script cut together by a room full of people fighting over what should and shouldn't be there. And so you get this weird mesh of a movie that has talent on screen, has talent behind the screen or behind the camera. And then the movie you see is just kind of weird, just bizarre. Studios interfering, trying to get ahead of themselves. Batman v Superman, a movie that on like has a bunch of things that should have been really good about it. What's wrong with the movie, though, is that they tried to do a Man of Steel sequel, they tried to do Batman v Superman, and they tried to do Dawn of Justice. So they tried to do 3 different movies in one movie. And so, I mean, even if you just look at the movie that they made, why is it that they would have a 3-hour director's cut of it? Well, because I'm pretty sure they started making Man of Steel 2, and then they went, what if we did Batman in it, and then we could, like, expand it? And so they went from a story about the ramifications of Man of Steel, with Lex Luthor being mad at Superman and doing this doomsday stuff. And you can see how they just went, we could add Bruce Wayne into that mix too. And if we do that, it's like both Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne are mad at the Superman for what he did. And okay, and you can see how they just clump that and squish that into it, that you force in this Batman v Superman plotline into it. All right, so now a 2-hour movie turns into a 2.5-hour movie. And then they went, as long as we're doing that, what if we get the whole Justice League in here? And how are we going to do that? Wonder Woman is investigating Lex Luthor, and they get his email, or they get some files, and they email it back and forth to each other, and it's video of Aquaman, Cyborg, and the Flash. There, perfect. And now we cram that plot line in there, and now our 2.5-hour movie turns into a 3-hour movie. But all these stories don't fully integrate with each other, and things are underdeveloped, and you don't have enough time to spend time with Superman, and so Superman just comes off mopey all the time. That's how that happens, because they just try to cram so much stuff into it that doesn't fit. And so how do movies become bad? Well, that's how you cram too many ideas into one movie. All right, we got someone over here laughing. Apparently, you guys are getting juicy in the comment section.
Cody Leach just said, "Stop misrepresenting DC, you Marvel fanboy. The movies are flawless. It's Rotten Tomatoes and YouTube that's brainwashing everyone into disliking them. Hashtag, and the Oscar goes to Jesse Eisenberg." Hashtag inside joke.
I feel like I'm dying. Sorry about that. Yeah, there's a gigantic inside joke between me and Cody Leach and a couple other guys, where anytime we talk about DC movies and we say we want these movies to be awesome, we are the biggest fans, we want them to be incredible, but they're not so great. Then we have people that kind of storm our videos attacking us every time we do it. We get these people that come in that just like mindlessly defend DC and attack Marvel, and we can't even say some of their names. Like, well, yeah, 2 of the main ones that have attacked us over DC stuff that are DC fanboys have some sort of wildly offensive name that I can't say here for different reasons because of how racist, homophobic, other kinds of things their name is. Yeah, it's fun times. Another bad movie that came out this month, I actually liked it, but Sleepless. You got Jamie Foxx in the lead, great actor, great cast in the movie. Xander does a really good job with it. The problem, and it's based off of a movie I have not seen yet. It's a foreign film that was really well received. Problem with this movie, it's a bad script. Like there's no logic between scenes. It's just kind of nonsense as you go between stuff. Just a bad script. Well, hey there. Sorry about that. I'm going to take a drink so I stop coughing. But it's like it's the first draft of the movie, and they never and they never did a second draft. And that's pretty common where certain movies feel like they're first draft movies, where they make a first draft and they go into production. Suicide Squad, kind of like that. He had 6 weeks to write it. There's one that came out not too long. I don't remember what it was. It's not coming out. I'm sorry. But several movies, they have this vibe that the structure of it, A to B to C to D to E, works. The main story works, but the logic tying each thing together isn't so great, or the dialogue in it isn't so great. All right, that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. The one that came out this year, not the one that came out during my childhood. The structure of it is good enough, but it feels like they went, we want to go from here to this action sequence, to this chase sequence, to this chase sequence. And they just wrote filler dialogue in the movie. And then they went, all right, we Stephen Amell. He'll make a great Casey Jones. Oh, we've got, I was about to say Megan Fox. She'll make a great April O'Neil. That's not true. But it just feels like a first draft. The dialogue in it is filler. There's not actual jokes, but they play moments like they're jokes, and they have someone just say it goofy, and you're like, that's not a joke. And then like Krang shows up 10 minutes into the movie, disappears for an hour, and shows up for the finale. Like they knew they wanted Krang in the movie. They just didn't know how to work him into the movie. And so then you get this really weird thing where he's kind of there, but not really. First drafts or bad scripts where it feels like a first draft. Sorry about that. Last one I want to talk about real quick is, call it the business endeavor movies. This is kind of like the Resident Evil, but it's really those red box movies that you go, how is it that, like, what are all of these Nicolas Cage movies that keep coming out? And the new one, not just Nicolas Cage movies, what are all these Bruce Willis movies? I actually looked this one up today after church. I went to first service. My wife went to second service, so I was looking to watch stupid action movies before she got home. And Bruce Willis, over the last year and into this year, has done 3 movies with a guy named Stephen C. Miller: Extraction, Marauders, and First Kill. And they're all of these just terrible, they're under 90-minute long action thrillers that, someone pokes Bruce Willis with a stick. He kind of rolls up, he kind of picks up a phone. They film him mumbling a few lines. They film him picking up a gun and shooting it a few times. And then they have some B-level other star that's the real lead of the movie. But if you look at the poster, it's a picture of Bruce Willis. If you look at Netflix, how it's on there for Extraction, it's a picture of Bruce Willis. Then you watch the movie, Kellen Lutz is the star. You know, that guy from Twilight? Twilight, you're a big fan of him. He's a great piece of hunk of man meat, right? I didn't get a response on that one. But so he's the actual star of it. The guy who's from one of the Hercules movies from a year or two ago. Another Marauders comes out, and it has a different kind of B-level star. You get just enough scenes of Bruce Willis to be able to put him on the poster. And how do these movies make? Because they're not put in theaters. Nobody loves these movies. But what happens? It's a Friday night. They're all out of Batman v Superman because you didn't go see it in the theaters because you heard bad news about it. So you were just going to get it from Redbox. Oh, they don't have that. Oh, look. A new movie with Bruce Willis in it. I love Bruce Willis. I don't follow movie news because I'm average Joe. And so then I go, I guess I'll get that action thriller that has Bruce Willis in it. And so you rent it, and then he shows up in the first scene, and then for the next 30 minutes, you don't see him. You just see Kellen Lutz driving around and punching a punching bag. It's a business model. It works great. Or really the best one, if you want to make one of those movies, is Nicolas Cage. You get an Oscar-worthy actor who's won an Academy Award for Best Actor, and he will say yes to anything because he's got financial trouble. And you always line Nicolas Cage up with someone else in it, and so he's the action thrillers, all kinds of stuff. He has a new one that came out a week or two ago, like USS Indianapolis. Fun times. What reasons did we get in the chat board for why movies are so bad?
We did not.
No one had any feedback?
No. Never.
Never? Do we get any questions?
What movie are you most excited about this year? From Brandon Fairnout.
If I were to go for the year, the obvious choice I'd go with, as you can probably guess, would be Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Just because I'm, like most people my age, gigantic Star Wars fan. If you want to go to more creative options, really excited about Guardians of the Galaxy 2. and also War of the Planet of the Apes, or War for the Planet of the Apes. I always forget, what is it? War for the Planet of the Apes. That one I'm pretty excited about. Really, as I look at this year, my thoughts are just a little bit different about it, simply because most years I only go and see kind of the big blockbusters. I'll go see like one movie a month. This year, I'm going to the movies multiple times a week. So really, it's not so much this year that I'm excited about a specific movie, so much as I'm excited about the potential to just see lots of movies, the good, the bad, the ugly, actually get to experience a year of movies, which really changes the way you see movies, because you appreciate them kind of differently and you enjoy different things. And it's not just, I get to see that, the next time that Captain America punches people in the face, or the next time that we see a lightsaber, but you see all of the different types of stories, and you see movies you wouldn't normally go see. There's no chance I would go see a movie called La La Land that's a musical about adults from Hollywood unless I was doing this channel, in which case suddenly I'm very interested in going to go see a movie called La La Land, which even saying the name La La Land, I go, oh, I feel less of a man by just saying that name. But anyway, yeah. Other questions or comments? You made a funny noise over there.
I just made a comment on your behalf.
Uh-oh. Someone's talking for me in the chat board. We have other questions, other thoughts, comments? All right. Well, if we don't have any comments or anything of those nature, I probably need to go drink more of this liquid. And I've been going over 50 minutes. It's crazy how fast this goes when you're actually talking. It probably goes much longer for you guys. Oh, sorry. I started laughing like that. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you very much to my lovely wife for joining me today. Thank you, Chloe, for helping dress me today. If you guys don't know, if you can't see on the other side of the camera, which you can't, my daughter's actually been changing into these different outfits that she's found over here this entire time that I've been shooting this video, which has been a little bit distracting because she's trying to be like, look, I look pretty in my dress. And I can't tell her that since I'm talking to you guys. But thank you guys so much. Coming up this week, I got several exciting different types of videos coming up. Tomorrow, my review for Hacksaw Ridge will drop. Coming up on Friday, I believe, I've got my review of Masters of the Universe, the 1987 classic with Dolph Lundgren. I did that video with Durbin from Durbania. And same day, over on his channel, we're dropping our review of The Hobbit, There and Back Again. I hadn't seen the Hobbit movies until I decided to do some homework for, doing YouTube. Joined him over on his channel to talk about all three of those movies. They're filmed in advance. And so, yeah, check out his channel, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. All right, I think that's all I got to say for today. Thank you for watching. I don't remember there's my, I actually meant to do all these cool noises. I don't know if you can hear them or not, but I was going to do that during the video and then I forgot. Silly me. Well, now I'll really leave.